Hi guys, so today I'm here with Dan Sheedy, the geography expert with the Tuition Centre. So today we're just going to be touching on the Leaving Cert Geography paper, and we're going to basically ask Dan for all the best advice he can give us going forward and offer to the students. Dan, if you could introduce yourself and just talk about your expertise in geography and in the field, and just give a brief overview of the kind of geography course.
Hi guys, hi Dave. I wouldn't say expertise now. I've been doing it a very long time, however, and like anything in life, the longer you do something, hopefully the better you get at it. You look at the Leaving Cert course this year, 2024, you mightn't feel like it, guys, but it's a great year to be doing Leaving Cert Geography. So all of you will be familiar with the regional geography section, the Mezzogiorno, the Paris Basin. I mean, these are painful sections now. As a teacher, even teaching them is so tough. And you have a choice this year in this year's Leaving Cert, because of COVID regulations are still in, to leave out that entire section. So as a teacher, it is a blessing. I'm not teaching the Mezzogiorno to my students, the Paris Basin, the Greater Dublin area. Not that there's anything wrong with the Greater Dublin area, but it's a huge section students can leave out. So the way the Leaving Cert is structured this year is the paper is, you'll have your short questions. Then they have a section called physical geography, which everyone will do. There's a section called regional, which you can leave out. I'm choosing to do that. Then you have the elective section, guys, which is either human or economic. And then there's the geoecology section. And so in every year up until COVID, Dave, everyone had to do one from every section. So you had to do your short questions, which you still do. You had to do a question from physical. You had to do a question from regional. Then you had to do one from either human or economic. And then you had to do one from your geoecology. And this year, you can leave out one section. Now, you still have to, because you leave one out, you got to do two questions from another section. But it means as a teacher, I can stop teaching an entire section, regional geography.
Yeah,
and I can say to my students, exactly, instead of doing two from physical, or instead of doing one from physical, you do two. So you're learning the same amount in physical, you're just doing two questions instead of one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So basically what I'm saying to the students is don't feel sorry for yourselves, lads.
Yeah.
I mean, if you told students from 8 or 9 years ago, you don't have to do regional or you don't have to do economic, they'd be throwing their hat in the air. So it's hard when you're facing into the Leaving Cert, but it's a great year to be the Leaving Cert Geography. So the option I'm doing with my students, I'm leaving out, as I said, regional geography. Your teachers, guys, they might be choosing to leave out human or economic. That's great, and you might be doing regional. But you really would want your head clinically examined if you're not leaving out one section. If you're still doing the old version of the paper, which is one from physical, one from regional, one from human or economic, and one from geoecology, you just make it work for yourself. So I suppose the point is, it's a great year, don't mind and feel like it. It's a great year to be doing Leaving Cert Geography.
Great, yeah, always good to hear. Okay, so then focusing in then, like you said, if you're leaving out the regional, if you focus in on the physical side of things, how would you then maybe advise a student, or let's say I'm a student sitting across from you and asking, how would you advise me on studying the physical and approaching that area?
Everyone has to do physical. You don't technically have to, but because there's so many short questions as well, which everyone has to do from physical, everyone's going to have to do physical geography. Okay, now I love it, but I can appreciate some students struggle with it. There's 11 subtopics within it. There's plate tectonics, volcanic activity, earthquakes, folding, faulting, weathering, mass movement, karst landscapes, rivers, coast, glaciation, and that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So we're coming late in the year now. We're coming into Leaving Cert. So I know a lot of students will be thinking, "Oh my God, 11 topics. I've been enjoying my Gaelic football all year, or I've been enjoying my Saturday nights all year. How do I learn 11 topics?" And the answer is you can't. But there are tiers of questions. And what I mean by that is every student looking at this, lads, you'll know 30-mark questions. You'll know what I'm talking about. When I'm revising with my students, I do a list of all the 30-mark questions.
Yeah.
But the list is in order of the frequency with which they appear. Okay. So we have what's called a top 7 30-mark questions.
Okay, yeah.
And I say to students, look, if you've been doing nothing all year, if you learn these top 7, 2 to 3 of them are 100% going to show up. They do every year. Okay, that's not a prediction. That's pretty much a guarantee over the last 26 years. Okay. So, we know these questions. They're things like a landform of erosion, a landform of deposition you've studied, human interaction with the rock cycle, human interference with surface processes, surface and subsurface landforms in the karst region. Yeah. And so, with the Tuition Centre, I'll be doing a last-minute course a few weeks before the Leaving Cert. And, I'll be doing those 7 questions. But, of course, if anyone wants them earlier than that, you just got to log on to the Tuition Centre. All my physical geography questions are there that they can answer. But I would say to the lads in physical, don't panic. Get those top 7 done.
Yeah.
And you'd be amazed then, once they have the top 7 done, they might look at the next line of questions and say, oh, every year there's one question on the formation of rocks nearly. If I just add the questions on the formation of rocks, well, I'm pretty well armed going into it now,
Yeah, absolutely.
So, the key is, don't look at physical geography as 11 massive topics that I've revised.
Yeah, just break it up.
Just break it up and say, instead of, I'm just going to learn the top 7 30-mark questions.
Okay.
And then, to revise for the short questions, Dave, just you read through the topic.
Yeah.
You don't even put pressure on yourself to say, I don't know that. The simple act of reading it will give you enough for the short questions.
Yeah.
So, physical geography can be daunting, but the good thing about physical as well is it's an echo of junior cycle. So a lot of the stuff they learned for junior cycle will still be relevant. I mean, I'd have a lot of students and they said, it's just a question can't be that easy. Like 4 out of every 10 questions at Leaving Cert level are comparable almost to junior cert. We don't want anyone to fail.
Yeah.
And the big bad examiner is never going to set a trick question. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
If it's an easy question, mop it up.
Okay, great. And so then in terms of like the physical side of things in geography in the course, would you ever, so obviously you host the course at the tuition centre and that you basically offer to students, but would you ever advise your students on external resources that they can look at for physical geography, like, I don't know, National Geographic or anything like that?
Well, I would advise against, I'd often have friends of mine and we'd be in a table quiz and a question would come up about geography. You must know that. I said, not if it's on the Leaving Cert course.
Yeah.
So the point is I'm an expert on the Leaving Cert course. I'm not an expert on geography. And there is a danger when you try and branch out into other...
Too much information.
Too much information or information that's not relevant, because the marking scheme for all the questions in physical geography is based on what are called SRPs, or significant relevant points.
Yeah.
So, for example, there's a question in physical geography about human interference with surface processes, and the answer I use is dams and how building dams interfere in rivers.
Okay.
Now, the student can write 2 pages on dams and get no marks.
Yeah.
Unless they're describing how they interfere in surface processes.
And they're hitting those...
Yeah, and they're hitting those marks.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
There is a danger of moving beyond Leaving Cert. I mean, I've written a few revision books, and revision books are great too, but as you approach the Leaving Cert now, you would need to have, these are my 30-mark questions.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn these, and I'm going to write them when they come up. How do I cover myself for my short questions then? There's my textbook. All I do are I give out notes myself. I'm going to read those and get them into my head. So I would actually advise against looking too far beyond for extra stuff at this stage of the year. Focus on what you have, focus on what you know, and just perfect what you know. It's analogous to sport and environment. If you master the basic skills, the fancy stuff will look after itself.
Yeah.
So if you master what you have, if you master those 30-mark questions, you're plain sailing. Don't go looking for any magic extras. They don't exist.
Yeah.
Don't go listen to any radio shows or podcasts who are saying, I know what's coming up. Nobody knows what's coming up in the Leaving Cert, guys. But we do know what comes up regularly.
Yeah.
So we can't predict the Leaving Cert, but we can tell you with a fairly good degree of certainty. If you learn these 7 questions, for example, 3 are on the paper, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So experienced teachers will know how to prep you. Anyone who promises you they know what's coming up in the paper, I'm afraid they're having a bit of an lie to you.
Yeah.
But we can prepare you very well.
And then, so like you said, with that prediction, is that something then you run through in your courses? Do you look back over those last few years, and is that just in the physical aspect, or is that across the whole
Absolutely,
paper?
across the whole thing.
Okay.
There is a danger with students. They look at exam papers and they'll say, well, this came up last year, so it won't be coming up this year. That's not the case.
Yeah.
However, there are, again, the reason this year's cohort are so lucky is this syllabus has been here since 2006.
Yeah.
So, the gentleman who's setting the Leaving Cert paper now, he can't ask anything new.
No.
Everything that can be asked has been asked. Do you know?
Yeah.
And I set pre-papers for Examcraft. I've been setting pre-papers for 10 years. And the challenge is to ask something that's always been asked in a slightly different way. But that's all you can do, is ask it in a slightly different way. So, what I would say to students who are trying to prep, get those exam papers out. Now, you got to do the work first.
Yeah.
You got to sit in a room and you got to learn those 30-mark questions. There's no escaping that. There's no shortcut for that.
Yeah.
But once you've built up a bit of knowledge, get into the exam papers, and not just the exam papers you buy in the shop that go to 2013. Log on to examinationpapers.ie and you'll get the previous exam papers. I mean, Examcraft have just released all my past mock papers in hard copy.
Okay.
So the more exam papers you can practice, you'll just see it's the same stuff.
Yeah.
It's the same questions come up most years in a row. I mean, you look at physical geography, which will stick with Dave.
Yeah.
Isostatic processes has come up, I think, 9 of the last 12 years.
Yeah,
So that's not going to be a mystery when it comes up this year. Landform of erosion or landform of deposition is on the paper. It's been on every paper for the last 20 years. Formation of one rock will be there, So nice and simple. The same stuff does come up, particularly now. We're starting with physical, I know, particularly in physical.
Okay,
You
so
know?
it's just more about, maximizing the time you spend studying rather than just, like looking at it too broadly.
And the beauty of it all is
Just hitting those
choice.
points, Yeah.
So like, people will get freaked out about, oh my God, I didn't study that. That's fine. It's fine if you didn't study that. You don't have to do that question if it comes up. You have choice. The student that tries to study everything masters nothing. You don't have to study everything.
Yeah.
Don't worry about what you haven't done. Look after what you have done. You're going to be great.
Fantastic stuff. So yeah, anyone who's watching this video on YouTube or anything, will leave the links of the 2 websites that he's referencing there. So there's the Tuition Centre, where Dan will be doing his courses, and then there's Examcraft, and I presume they can access the previous mocks on the Examcraft website, is it?
All together. We're all the one big family up there.
Great. Okay, so the links will be below, and if you're listening to this on Spotify, head over to the YouTube channel, and again, the links will be in the video. Thanks very much, and thanks, Dave. Cheers.
Cheers, always good.
We'll see you soon for our next podcast.
Bye, guys.